All right, we're back. Episode 116 of the Morse Code Podcast. Dan Morse, Soapy Priyep. Hey, Soapy. How's it going?
Hi, Dan. It's going well.
Good. Good. It is a Thirsty Thursday. Of course, as always, brought to you by our friends at Cold River Vodka. Yes, if you're watching the video, Soapy's pointing to some bottles right behind him. If you're listening, just go back and listen to what I just said. It'll walk you right through it. But thanks again to our friends at Cold River. If you haven't had a chance yet, please do go check out Cold River on Instagram, Twitter, all over social media. Check out coldrivervodka.com. See if they're available near you. I know we're based out of Maine, but you can find them all over New England and some other states too. So shout out to them. And now's as good as time as ever, whether you're listening to this now or, maybe over the weekend. Pour a cold glass. Have a cocktail.
Or in the past.
Take a load off. Or in the past. I'm sorry. I always forget about the past. Or if it's in the past. But not any further past than like 2 weeks ago, because that's when we started working with them.
Yeah.
Prior to that, do whatever the hell you want. But for this weekend, for this summer, check out Cold River Vodka and Gin. All right, let's get right into it. We will get into a lot of hoops today, I think. We're going to be joined by a new friend of the program, John Zannis, later from CLNS Media and the Garden Report. Another phenomenal show. If you haven't checked them out yet, you should. Both of us, I think, would highly suggest that.
Yes. Yep. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would go dangerously close to 10.
Okay. Getting up to dangerous levels so early, but I don't know. Let's start with, we're going to talk to John a lot about some of the Celtic stuff, some of the Brad stuff, some of the Kemba stuff. Actually, a lot of good insight. We go behind the curtain. We actually spoke with him already, but we're going to edit it to look like we haven't spoken with him yet. It's going to come after this.
Yeah. Basically time travel, if you think about it.
Here we go. Right back to where we started from. Are you enjoying the conference finals thus far?
Big time.
Me too.
More so than...
Oh, me too.
I actually wasn't a huge fan of the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, first round stunk.
I like the second round, and this round has been great so far. It just sucks that now it's not basketball every day. That's the only part that sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. I think the way it's set up, there's probably a game every day, maybe one off travel day.
So, yeah, occasionally there's like a skip day, but yeah, it was just nice when it was like TNT was on every night too, and now TNT only has like the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever. But yeah, great series so far on both sides.
I put up on the poll yesterday who people would think would win in the Bucks-Hawks game. 100% of the people said the Bucks, last I checked.
Wow.
100% of them were wrong. Hawks won. Great game. Fun series, man. Really fun. Hawks are a fun team.
Yeah.
They got some cool, fun players. Trae Young and John Collins are cool.
And I'm glad they're doing this in these jerseys and not like the pre-2020 Hawks jerseys when they had like the checkerboard. Shit.
Boy,
such a terrible look.
The Dwight Howard era Atlanta Hawks jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were big trash.
Like crossing guard, fucking neon.
Oh, that one, I'm never going to understand that one. I just don't get it. I don't know why that went through a marketing decision.
Yeah.
To say, hey, these are really going to pop. These are a really good decision.
Like their home, I think their road reds or orange, whatever, is probably the best. But like their MLK ones are nice. The home ones are nice because I feel like they're kind of throwing it back a little bit to like their older jerseys. But yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I like the white ones they wore last night. White jerseys, red trim.
Yeah. Thoughts on Trae Young so far?
Big fan. We actually were on another podcast last night, so I didn't turn on the game till after that. And I think it was with like 5 minutes left or something, which obviously if you watched, it was a good game at that point. And I didn't realize till they showed like a shot chart and it was like Trae Young, like 40. Did he have 46 or 49?
Close, 48.
40. It was like Trae Young's shot chart. Maybe he had 46 at the time. 46 points showing his chart. And I was like, God damn, like he really did it again. I think he's averaging like 30 and 10 for the playoffs. Which is impressive. And if you watch the Philly series, he's probably one of the bigger rim protectors left in the tournament too.
Deep boy.
Yeah. A lot of people, yeah. I don't know. I often confuse him and Rudy Gobert when I'm watching the game, like without my glasses on, based on the reaction of the offensive player driving to the rim. But yeah, they talk a lot about like not many two-way players anymore. 30 points a game, 10 assists, and literally holding the opposing player to 0 shots in the fourth quarter is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, you would think he was a fucking boogeyman.
I don't know if he'll be able to keep it up in the other series against literally any other team, but for that conference semis, fourth quarter, you couldn't afford to shoot on him. If you're their point guard. If you're their particular point guard.
Yeah, statistically, according to that one game,
yes,
Trae Young, possession. Yeah, that one possession was 1 for 1 in stopping a 6'10" opposing player from dunking on him. Mm-hmm. Trae Young, I don't even think is 6 feet tall. I want to say he's like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, number 1 pick, perennial all-star, a Kardashian, and an Australian, all in one body. Tough look. We're not going to get too into bed. We talk a lot about Ben Simmons with John later. The one thing we actually I wanted to bring up, but I think we ran out of time. I don't remember a player's stock plummeting this quickly like this. This is crazy. Like he's a must trade with a very minimal market. I think it's going to be like he's Ben Simmons, and now Philly's treating it like he's unemployable.
Yeah, I saw an interesting tweet where like you saw how it was reported that he had a meeting with Philly management and Clutch, and like Rich Paul was there.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And someone was like, yeah, it looks like a trade request is inbound. And then someone quote tweeted that and was like, no, I don't think that's not how this works when the team already wants to trade you.
Yeah. We're exporting you out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're fired. I quit.
Yeah. Yeah. You do whatever the hell you want, but you're not working here much longer. We can't really do these 5-on-4 fourth quarters in the playoffs for much longer. It's challenging. Boy, that contract really blows, huh? That's a tough one.
Big time.
That's a tough check to stroke every month or every cup bi-weekly. I don't know if they get paid on the 1st and the 15th for the next 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And again, I know we talked about with John later, but from a Celtics perspective, not saying like and again, he's not a scrub. He's Ben Simmons. You can make something out of it. I don't know if that's the player I want to be anchored to for 4 years for a lot of money. That's the worst part. If he was just a free agent, maybe find something that works. But I think Rich Paul's got his work cut out for him this summer. Yeah, he'll make it happen. He'll do something crazy. He'll go to a good spot and probably win a title. He'll go to the Jazz, and him, Rudy Gobert, and Donovan Mitchell are going to go on win 4 titles in a row.
And be the biggest chip on your shoulder players in the history of the league.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be brutal. I don't know. Where do you think he goes?
No,
I don't even know like what a suit. I don't even know how to talk about potential suitors because it's all based on trades and who can afford.
I think that someone would want to acquire him, but I actually don't think the Sixers are going to trade him.
You don't? Yeah, I don't. It is kind of a knee-jerk reaction. I guess you're right.
After like only giving him, not that this guy makes a difference for Ben Simmons, but like from the optics, I don't think it would be fair to only give him 1 year with Doc Rivers. So that just seems strange to me for like a big name coach like that to come in and then a year later trade one of the stars. I also think, the contract's tough. And also I was going to touch on this.
Please.
News in the NBA just moves so fucking fast that in a couple of weeks, we won't even be talking about this.
100%. Yep. Very good point. I think the only reason it would have to be done is if Embiid walks in and says like, I can't do this anymore. I think then they have to probably make a decision.
Which he almost pretty much
is doing. So correct. So back to my original point, you need to trade Ben Simmons.
That was pretty. What did you think of that? The reaction from Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid.
Oh, I forgot about the Doc. I mean, I know the Doc Rivers one. What did Embiid say?
They didn't ask him specifically about that play. They just asked him for his thoughts on the series, and he said, or the game, and he said, "Well, how should I say this? But I think when we had a chance to like score 2 points and we passed out of it, and then we ended up with free throws, which I don't even think that Matisse Thybulle made. I think he missed at least one of the free throws, which is another like, all right, we just had a dunk. And so he pretty much said, he was like trying to figure out a nice way to say it, and then he just said it how he would have said it anyways. It's like, I don't think we should be doing that. That wasn't good basketball.
Yeah, even Doc too. That's a tough one too. I don't have that answer for you right now. I don't know. I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
I think Doc is like such a good guy that I don't like. I'll bash him just like anyone else. One thing that I remember from like his time with the Celtics that I did not like is, remember how he would always say, anytime that we had our starting five, we were undefeated in the playoffs in terms of like series, not games. But he'd be like, if we had, like, he's one of the guys who says if we had Perk, we would have won that second title against the Lakers. I'm like, fans can say that. I don't think your fucking coach should be saying that.
Yeah,
that seems weak.
Well, I also think what Ben Simmons said sucked too. He was basically like, it is what it is. Winning's hard in this league. He just saw the Nets lose. And it's like, well, okay, but that doesn't answer my question. And B, you realize how terrible this series was for you, like specifically, Ben, right? It is what it is. Winning's hard. There's nothing like when I look at leadership, like this is really hard. We're probably not going to do it. It's very hard. Look what happened to the Nets. So I don't know. That team just, I'll take Philly slander all day, but, this is what I meant to ask you. I think we meant to touch on this last time, but I don't think we got around to it. When we were talking about the Jazz Clippers series, I think we were going back and forth about like which one would be better, Jazz slander or Clippers slander. It ended up turning into Jazz slander, which I think that was my answer. I think I'll take this. That was a good couple of days on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Rudy Gobert, a lot of, and Donovan Mitchell balled out. I'm not going to really shit on him, but it's just, and I guess you can say this about multiple teams, multiple years. I think the Jazz and the Sixers have to look at it like, if we didn't win this, if we not only did not win, like if we didn't get past the second round this year, like what are we doing? Like what else are we going to do this? No LeBron, no Kawhi, no Chris Paul.
Ooh, that's a good,
no Harden.
That's a good comparison, because those teams, I look at them from the same trajectory as the Celtics, like the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown Celtics, because like Donovan, essentially that was Ben Simmons' rookie year. That was Donovan's real rookie year, and that was Tatum's real rookie year. And all three of those teams have now fizzled out prematurely.
They're not playing right now. Yeah, correct. And
actually
they
all on a pretty similar path. Now I think
that's what I mean. Like if they're the one, like they maxed out the regular season. They got the 1 seed. There's really nothing else you can do besides that. And they couldn't. Then they both underachieved. Maybe more so on Philly. Philly should have beaten Atlanta. Jazz Clippers is tough. Clippers are a good. Oh, they lost Kawhi. Same excuse. No reason to lose that series. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I'm here for it.
And they were up 2-0, weren't they?
Yeah. Clippers are always down 2-0. That's why they're going to win the series. But yeah, Jazz fans are probably going to burn Donovan Mitchell's house. And then we'll just rebuild it next year and see what happens.
And not Joe Ingles' house.
No, I don't see them touching Joe Ingles'
No specific reason. I just feel like he'll get lucky.
I agree. I think I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, I think they like Joe Ingles is the core and they'll build around him.
Quinn Snyder, you're also safe.
Yeah, I think Goran Dragic is a free agent. I think they might bring someone like him in. Sign and trade for Gordon Hayward is always on the table. So, yeah. Were you listening to shout out another friend of the program, Trill Withers? Did you end up listening to that entire Not Here to Argue with Coley?
I did.
From earlier in this week when they were talking about the Jazz. That was so good. Just like what the old Utah Stars or like whatever they were before that. The whole, like the Jazz just don't make any sense as an organization. Like they're talking about like the 90s, like, those clean blue and purple jerseys, those mountaintops, the beautiful snow, and just Jazz written across the top of it. That is just a strange franchise.
Shout out to those two for the reunion, by the way.
Yeah, that was nice to see. That was cool. Another big motivation for this show. So that was good to see. Curious to see what Tyler does. All eyes are on fun report tonight.
I think I may have seen what it is.
Is it him?
I think it might be Sexual Jumanji, another white guy.
Okay. Are you listening, Utah? You can listen to this episode. You might like it.
Who's been with Tyler before and was
he's
great.
Funny.
So
yeah, he's funny. But yeah, then out west, like I said, I was very curious to see if the Clippers go down 0-2 in the series. I know here's a Twitter, and I still want to rock with the Suns, but could you imagine if Suns are up 2-0, Chris Paul comes back and they lose the series? He might.
What the hell are they going to blame it on? What's the media going to do with that story?
COVID. He came back too early.
They're giving him all the credit when he doesn't play. So
his COVID's going to be acting up. Yeah, I don't know. You couldn't smell the incoming defender.
Chris Paul's got it made because I don't hate him as much as I used to. And I also agree that I wouldn't hate seeing him win the title. More so just because I'm rooting for the Suns. But
right. Me too.
Yeah, I don't get why he just gets defended by everyone. All the mainstream media anyways. Stephen A, Wilbon, Barkley.
Yeah, he's always kind of been like he's a good player. He's an all-pro. I know is he still like the president or like the chairman of the Players Association?
I think he is.
One of those titles. So he's up there. So that means he must have his hand in with like some of the media guys. And again, he's not a bad guy. He doesn't have like, an arrest history or anything like that. He's a perceived good guy, I think, right? He doesn't have any like criminal stuff, does he?
No, and I think he honestly probably will go down as like he'll go down as top 5 or 10 in his position.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't like him.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't like him, but I do like following Chris Paul slander. I think it's funny on Twitter, at least, not from like the mainstream media. So I still think the Suns win that series. With no Kawhi, that's tough. I think that is a better team.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee beats the Hawks. So if we're looking at a Suns Bucks finals, I think it'll be pretty fun. But
I think either one of those, Suns Bucks or Suns Hawks.
I think any combination will be good. I think we have 4 good teams left.
Yeah.
Except that the Clippers without Kawhi, I don't want to watch Pat Beverly for 7 nights on ABC.
That's true. 1 star just like no sarcasm. 1 star just isn't enough for me to, or if you only have 1 star, then you have to have other like, I don't know, interesting storylines or whatever.
Right.
Clippers have none of that beyond Paul George.
Correct.
George Paul, according to Skip Bayless.
You mentioned Doc earlier. Let's touch on this. Speaking of Doc Rivers and former Celtics coaches, they did hire a new coach. We'll get into that with John later. Is there any defense for the Jay Williams tweet? Actually, let me ask you this. I put this on Twitter. Which tweet do you think was worse? The initial tweet or the cover-up tweet? More indefensible.
The cover-up tweet for sure.
You really think so?
Yeah. Because that one is
I don't get how
predictable.
how do you get the first one off? I genuinely don't get it. And I know how to get off. And I genuinely don't know how he got that one off.
All you had to do was look one coach.
You think you would look that up before you tweet that?
Well, like, also Doc Rivers coached
I know how excited
millennium.
he must have been. Yeah. I know how excited he must have been to be able to say that. But the caveat, and I think this is important, is it isn't true. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of that tweet's, I think, if it was true, if, we never had a black coach in history, it's a pretty good tweet. I think for, the times today, it's a good tweet to get out there.
Yeah.
It's just a tough look when it's just not true.
Yeah. And I don't know like how quickly he tweeted that after just the hiring was announced, but part of me is wondering like, as soon as he heard from whoever he's connected to behind the scenes, if he was like, I've got this in the drafts, make it official, you Woj, and I'm firing this off.
Yep. I don't know. How long was the tweet even up for? Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. The defense was pretty bad. The tweet couldn't have been up for long. As soon as I saw the kid retweet it, I went to find it and it was gone. So actually, I thought it was fake at first. And then I went through some of the comments and saw other people. Thank God someone screenshotted that. Thank God Twitter is so fast. Like you just can't get away with something like that nowadays. I bet that was screenshotted within 5 seconds.
Oh,
literally.
Big time.
Like literally. It came across someone's timeline, click, tweet, and it went viral. Love it.
Probably Rachel Nichols sitting right next to him was waiting for him to hit send so that she could screenshot it.
Just looking over like, I wonder what he's getting at here. There must be some sort of punchline coming eventually.
That's interesting.
No, 140 characters. That's it. That's all you got. I don't know. Very strange. Very strange. And the other thing about the cover up is I'm pretty sure he tweeted that one like hours later.
Much later.
So that's the other thing. So like, were you doing an investigation for the past 8 hours, like figuring out what happened? Or he must have had like a pros and cons list in his house. Like, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. All signs are pointing towards, I think the American people will trust that I got hacked, and this anonymous type hacker tweeted that terrible, terrible thing he said. And this will explain it all. Send tweet.
and rest assured, American people, I have changed my passcode.
I'm glad you mentioned that. God forbid this happens a second time.
Mm-hmm.
You change it from password to password 01. That'll teach those hackers, those nerds. Yeah, that's a tough look. Anything else before we get into it, John? I'm trying to think what else was out there. I don't want to take too much time away. I think the big ones are the finals. Game 2 in Phoenix was outstanding. Good.
Okay. Pretty much related to something that we have here with Game 2 of the Suns game.
Yes.
Before I give you my opinion, and I think you'll know what it is anyways, what do you think of the call where, like, all right, so let's say you and I are playing basketball.
Okay.
2 guys, 1 ball, 1-on-1. Sure. What do you think of that call where they reversed the out of bounds call on Booker, where the instant replay shows that it, like, you slow it down, it looks like it, and it shows that it went off the offensive player. But in any other situation, in a pickup game or like the first 47 minutes of a pro game, they never would have reviewed that, and it just would have been the offense's ball back. Where do you stand on that?
It's crazy because I think the stat that came out was like that last 90 seconds took 33 minutes, like real time. That's atrocious. That's inexcusable. To your point, I always think of it like this: like if you go those deep into looking at those calls, you might as well look at every call in the game because it's the same unbalanced. You know what I mean? Same unbalanced than getting officially the right call. Because it's like, okay, let's make sure we get this right. But you realize we're at this point in the game because you very well may have gotten 2 or 3 calls wrong in like the second quarter. So it all balances out in the end. It's just part of the game. So yeah, I think it's crazy. And I think it was like Jenkins and Jones were talking about it. I don't know what the solution is, but there should probably be like a time limit. Like look at it for a minute. If you can't figure it out from there, either just stay with the call or make another call. Like it's not that big of a deal. I'll put it this way: if it takes more than a minute,
players.
Yeah, assassinate both players. If it takes more than a minute, then just go with whatever's on the court. You know what I mean? Like this is crazy, and like football is just as bad. Like as soon as I see the ref go under like the little thing to look at the monitor, it's like, all right, I have 10 minutes to go do whatever I want to see if it's 2nd and 3rd or 3rd and 7, or you know what I mean? Like this is so stupid. So yeah, I don't know. That's why like these late games are tough for me because it's like I know the game will probably take 2 hours, but then the last 10 minutes could take another 2 hours.
Well, I just think that the spirit of that call is probably is even worse than like getting it wrong. It's like, dude, if you were playing a pickup game, that is always the defensive player is the one who caused this whole thing. Sure. So just because it grazed off the offensive player's fucking fingernail, like that's not why.
Yeah, it's off the
replay was invented.
Right, the defender knocked it out of bounds. Replay, like whatever, inbound ball. It's that simple.
What do you think is a worse interpretation of a rule? That example, or how fucked up and inconsistent a NFL catch is? Like not what is more impactful, but which one do you think gets fucked up more?
Like which one do they get wrong more?
Yeah, in terms of like, all right, just seeing this with my eyes, the NBA call gets called
that's
incorrectly
a good example.
more than the NFL one.
I'd probably think NBA just because those are so like, you know what I mean? There could be 3 or 4 guys scuffling for a rebound and the ball goes out of bounds. I'd say probably like 75% of the time you get it right, just naturally, like without replay. Catches, I don't know. I mean, I feel you probably say the same thing for catches. Like if it looks like a catch, just move on. If it's like 5 minutes left in the second quarter, just play, just go. If it's like last minute in the Super Bowl, maybe, but half the time, I don't know. It's just crazy. I think refs enjoy doing that, but I also think they're like, I think they might like legitimately be afraid. Like, hey, if we go back and turn this over, like DeAndre Ayton's gonna choke slam me like through like the announce table, or like whoever was on the wrong end of it. So I don't know.
Or Adam Silver is gonna directly send like the coronavirus to my house.
Well, see, that's why I like this Final Four. I don't see what Adam Silver is rooting for. I think he's just like, whatever. Like, let's actually play some basketball. I think he might cancel the league. He might sell the company, liquidate the company and sell. Yeah, I don't know.
So I thought that was interesting.
No, it was interesting, and it's definitely a problem. I saw again on Jenkins and Joe's, I think it was Mike. He was talking about there's an idea floating around where you could like put a chip in the basketball, and that would literally tell you who touched it last upon replay. But at that point, they're going to review every single one because they know they can get it 100% correct.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say that the chip would just tell you instantly.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Oh, that'd be cool. But then it's like we're not playing basketball. Like then it gets a little too weird.
Yeah.
Too AI for my liking. And then what was the other one? Oh, the other one I think they suggested was just give each coach either an extra challenge or an extra timeout. I guess extra challenge would make sense. Where it's like, hey, if you want to challenge this, fine, but we're not going to do it automatically. If you really think it's the wrong call, use a challenge.
And then, oh yeah, because you still lose a timeout, right? If you get a challenge wrong.
In basketball?
I think you do in basketball too.
Oh, maybe. I know in football you do, obviously. Basketball, I don't remember. I don't remember what do you get? 1 challenge a game? 2 challenges a game?
It might be 1.
Or maybe it was like you get 1 challenge in the last 2 minutes or something like that. Like, hey, because then you're not going to, if you really, because think about it this way. Like, I don't think Phoenix would have used a challenge to challenge that. It was that close.
Right.
Or whoever was on it was Phoenix was on offense, right?
Yep.
And that was the call they overturned.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think watching that in real time, it's like, oh, whatever. It's off the defense, our ball. Like, let's just keep going. Or I guess it would be on the Clippers to challenge it. But
that's how it should do
that shit. Yeah, exactly. So
like,
I don't know. The other thing I wanted to touch on quickly is the Team USA roster is starting to beef up. I think that could be fun this summer.
Big time.
Led by one Jeremy Grant and Kevin Love. I saw someone comparing, like, I think it was going around Twitter, like who's the most like irrelevant player on a Team USA roster, like Jeremy Grant, and someone threw out Harrison Barnes, which I totally forgot about. he was on that stack team. I think, was it the last run or the run before? Couldn't have been the last one, right? Oh yeah, 4 years ago, maybe it was.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of Harrison Barnes' prime.
Because it was after the 3-1 finals.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm curious to see what those average spreads are. I can't picture one less than 20, unless I don't know. There's this weird country we forgot about that has a bunch of, unless they're playing like Mars in the play-in games, the qualifying games.
Yeah, maybe LeBron isn't in the Olympics. Maybe he is assembling the other super team.
That'd be a twist. That'd be a good plot.
Him in the Toon Squad versus Team USA.
Freaking Jason Tatum and Daffy Ducktail the tape on the pregame show.
I wonder who's going to be in the starting lineup because, I'm trying to think. The whole team is crazy.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. I know it's. I would say, who's the best point guard on the team? Lillard.
Yep.
So Dame, Durant starts. Who else is out there? Durant starts.
Oh, Durant.
Harden's the one who went out, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see here. So let's say it's Lillard at the 1, Booker maybe at the 2, unless they want to play Bradley Beal there.
Oh.
Tatum might start at the if they go small, Tatum at the 3, Durant at the 4. I don't know who's playing center. Oh, Bam playing center.
Actually, that's probably it right there. I don't hate that.
Yeah, definitely. Draymond off the bench, Zach LaVine off the bench. Imagine like getting a break from the starters and Zach LaVine comes off the bench. They drop like 20 in 5 minutes.
Dude, I just remembered in the last Olympics when DeRozan tried to 360 on someone. Zach LaVine is definitely going to try to like windmill from the free throw line on someone.
He's gonna treat it like a dunk contest. They're gonna run ISO for Zach LaVine to do a dunk contest. No, what's interesting about this though? Seriously, Booker, Holiday, Chris Middleton. Oh, of course, Giannis isn't on this team. Booker, Holiday, and Middleton. They could all potentially be playing in the finals. I think they said if it goes 7 in the finals, it'll either. Is there a chance it would overlap or no? I thought there was a chance like where these guys wouldn't play if they get far into the finals.
It won't overlap, but damn, they've already committed. So like, can you even withdraw at this point?
No, I guess not. Who do you think is the weirdest one on here?
Who doesn't belong?
It's tough. No, like they all belong. Maybe except Kevin Love. But I'm curious, like, I don't know. Do they invite everyone and then they just take the players that don't decline? Like I'm sure they invited LeBron. So. They invited Steph.
Yeah.
I'm sure they invited. And is Embiid American?
Nah, he's going to play for Cameroon.
Right? Oh, okay. Why would you even, if you're an NBA player, why would you even do that? Like if you're the only NBA player on your country's team, you know you're going to get smoked out in the first couple games. I wouldn't go. If I'm Joel Embiid, if I'm Giannis.
Especially from
Giannis's brother is going to be the second best player on the team, I would assume, for Team Greece. He's going to drop like Wilt Chamberlain numbers in the playing round.
Yeah, you'd almost prefer to like, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it knowing that we're going to be out after like a game or two. That way I can like represent my country, but I don't have to like break a sweat.
I was kind of, I thought they might have given Melo a spot. I'd put Melo over Kevin Love. I definitely thought that
they were going to.
I wonder did they invite him and he declined or not even invited?
They must not have invited him because
when did Kevin Love enter like the equation? There's got to be better Americans than Kevin Love.
I don't know if it's still Jerry Colangelo that puts this.
Was Jalen invited? Did he have a public decline?
No, but he was part of that team 2 years ago when it was Smart, Tatum, and
Kemba
Walker.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the only one I'd like to see is Melo. That'd be fun because he'd still average 20 if he wanted to.
That's also his
6 for 6.
He always brings that up in terms of his list of accomplishments because he has
that's going to get him first ballot Hall of Fame. His gold medals. Seriously, that's going to be the difference maker.
It's Phelps and then Carmelo Anthony.
He might be up there with my favorite Olympic players. Kobe was a great Olympic player.
Yep.
Grant was. Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Garnett. Vince.
Trying to remember.
LeBron was that was such a fun Olympic team. It was London, right? Kobe, Durant, LeBron.
Yep.
I think Wade. Those jerseys were sick too. That was a fun team. What was last year? Did they win the gold medal last year? Or whatever, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah.
There were a couple funny ones on that team. I remember DeAndre Jordan was on that team.
Yeah.
Barnes.
Yep. I think Chris Paul was on that team. What year would that have been? 2016.
Yeah. DeRozan, Clay, KD.
Oh, Clay, yeah.
Dre.
Melo was on that team too. Maybe that was the year I was thinking of when we shot the lights up. Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry.
Oh, yeah.
Kyrie. Yeah, Clay, Carmelo, Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes with the golden medal. Well earned. He's got some jewelry.
Dude, he was slated, like he was projected to be really good after like leaving Golden State.
Yeah, he sure was. Who's coaching this year? Popovich?
Oh.
It's not Krzyzewski, I assume.
I don't remember.
Anyway. That'll be fun. I'm actually my wife and I were talking about this today. I'm actually very much looking forward to the Olympics, like all the sports. It'll be fun to get that back.
Yep.
Track, swimming, basketball, Mud wrestling.
Yeah, you're a big javelin guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Only when like spectators get like stabbed through the heart, like by accident. That's what I'm here for. That's the American way. But
discus.
Yeah, big discus guy. Let's leave that here for us. Let's get into the real part of the show. So again, seriously, lucky to have a new friend of the program. So you've been following us for a while. I guess somewhat recently, we've had our friends from CLNS Media and the Garden Report come on. Bobby Manning, Jimmy Toscano, we had A. Sherrod, and now John, who's, I guess, the host of it, the MC pretty much. Yeah. So great post-game show. Again, once you listen, he'll talk about where you can find them, but they're going to be on sporadically throughout the off season too. It's a really fun show. It's interactive. And then if you hop over to it's not Locker Room anymore. It's Green Room, right?
Yeah. Spotify
Green Room is Spotify Green. You can jump in and basically like a press conference and like ask questions and like get brought in. It's a pretty cool app. So check them out. Check him out. We're going to talk a lot of Celtics, talk a lot about the Kemba trade, talk a lot about the Jared Weiss article, and even have a little outlook on the next season. So, and we talked some Grant Williams slander. So it was actually a really fun conversation.
Yeah, that was good for old time's sake.
It sure was. That felt good. Real quick, I'm looking forward to football season. I kind of hope we hang on to N'Keal Harry, and I hope he sees the field sometimes. I think the Patriots are going to be good this year, but I still need to see at least a couple N'Keal Harry stat lines a month that we can dive into. It won't take long, but that we'll be able to dive into.
Where he's got more penalties than catches.
Yeah,
more penalty yards than catches.
More anything than catches traditionally, but yeah. But anything from you before we kick it over to John?
No, let's do it.
All right, cool.
And we got the maestro, the MC of the Garden Report, John Zannis from CLNS Media. And up, specifically the Garden Report. What's going on, John?
What's up, John?
How goes it?
Good, man. Good.
Not too bad. Just following these Celtics news updates, and thought it would be a good idea to get you on and chop it up with us. But I guess we'll get right into it. What do you think of the Celtics move? So what do you think of Brad's move so far? I saw somewhere someone was like, he's 2 for 2. It was like a respected voice too.
Yeah. Quite a few people have said it. Here's the thing though. Like, I don't want to pour water on stuff coming right out of the gate. Go
ahead. Pour as much water as you need.
No. Like, look, I think everyone wants. We're in need of a win, right? Everyone's in need of a win, and so like the way the season ended, and then Danny leaving, and it being Brad, and everybody being confused, and Kemba getting hurt late, and just all that stuff. You needed a win, so. Relative to how you felt 3 weeks ago, you feel better today. Relative to how you felt at this point last year, I think the franchise is in much worse shape. You know, I mean, you have a rookie head coach and a rookie GM, so that's 2 unknowns versus what you thought were one of the best head coaches and one of the best GMs in all of basketball. So you got to go back to a full year ago, you know, and you had what you thought was the makings of some sort of big 3 last year, even though Kemba was a little bit hurt in the playoffs, to Jalen, Jason, and who the F knows what else. So right now you have a rookie head coach, a rookie GM, you dumped Kemba, and it's hard to say that the team is better as a result of that move right now. It was a necessary move, but at the on-court product, I'm not going to say that it's going to be better, and you don't have a first-round draft pick. So I don't get the victory laps right now being taken over this. That being said, it's not to pour water on the hire of the coach. This might be the right move. It might be exactly what they need, but there's so like the Kemba trade is not a win as much as it was something that had to be done. And this is a coach who I think, being the Boston Celtics, you should know comfortably you should be able to get one of the top assistants out there if that's the direction you wanted to go. So whether it was him, Ham, or Billups, I think the reaction would have been roughly the same. So I'm not doing backflips over the coach like, we got our guy. If the players, my stance has always been, if the players like him, I like him, and it seems like they do, and that's the most important thing. So in that case, it's a win, but I don't think they plucked this thing out of somewhere that like, oh my God, we are so lucky they got this guy. I think they probably made a good choice based on the fact that Brad clearly leaned on the players and said, I want you guys to have a voice in this. This appears to be their guy, and that was the most important thing. So in that sense, it's a win, but I still am there's a lot more moves that need to follow. I'm still pretty concerned about the overall direction of where they are. And it's not Brad's fault per se. He kind of inherited a bit of a mess here. It's going to be hard to kind of punch his way out. But certainly, yeah, Kemba had to go. You needed a coach. Both of those things got done. We'll see how it kind of plays.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was one of the stories I was most excited to see come out. Whenever that was, it was somewhat recently, where it's basically like, hey, Jalen, Jason, and I think they lumped Marcus Smart in too.
They did.
We're on board with like giving the thumbs up to this hire, which to your point is a good thing. And I know a lot of people talk about this too. I do still find it weird that Marcus Smart, well, actually, maybe this is a good question. Do you think the fact that Marcus Smart was lumped into that conversation points towards him staying in Boston this year, either via extension or?
I don't think it makes a difference.
Okay. I just thought of that now.
I think you're leaning on the veteran voice that's currently under contract.
Yeah,
I think the door is open for anything with Marcus, and that could be a re-sign or a trade or a walk. I think all three of those things are possible. But he's a veteran voice, and at this point, he is a leader. Not including him in the process would send a bigger message than including him.
Yeah, I agree. What is his deal? And I always forget. Is he free this summer?
He's unrestricted after this year.
After this year. Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. So they got to decide whether they re-sign him or trade, or I guess theoretically, I mean, you can enter the summer without this thing done.
Right.
But a lot of people are thinking there'll be some sort of resolution. Definitely one of the most polarizing figures. We talk about him a ton on the Garden Report there. And, people are just all over the map. He's either the heart and soul of the team or an absolute detriment, and he's got to go. And there's not a lot of middle ground.
No, I'm on each end of those spectrums.
and I've
consistently.
I've ridden that wave too. I'm all over the map. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Sherrod got the clap back, but it really originated with your comment when Marcus was pissed at the show, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah.
What we were talking to Jimmy or Bobby. I forget when that was, or maybe it was Sherrod. What was that in regards to again?
So Marcus was always Marcus has always been a target of mine, and in most cases when he's not a target of mine in the sense that I like the player and I like the fact that he does a lot of things. I just kind of use like Celtics Twitter or Celtics homers and their overvaluation of Smart and what he brings to the table. Honestly, I think he's sometimes a wash. The amount of things he does that hurts you versus the amount of things he does that helps you, I think are kind of close. I think he's vastly overvalued, yet he is a valuable player, I think, used in the right roles. But at that point in time, he was taking too many shots and we were killing him for that. And I just said outright, I was like, look, this is a guy who's got to make his bones on defense. He's got to be a lockdown defender. I was like, he's struggling with quicker guards, like he's not there and he's not shutting guys down and he's not doing what he was before. I think his all defensive stuff might be a little bit more on reputation because he makes those Cobra strike winning plays. And it's, a lot of them are at the right time and his defensive intensity is great and he's diving on the floor. But I was like, you put a guy like a Trae Young or a Booker on the other end and you say, chase that guy around. That guy's running Marcus in circles a lot of times. And look, a lot of guys struggle keeping guys like that in front of them. They're lightning quick jitterbugs. But if that's where you're going to make your bones and say I'm an all defensive guy, where he has strength is his defensive versatility. He's guarding friggin' Zion in the post. He's guarding fives sometimes. A lot of people can't do that. That's all. But that specific criticism of the things we killed Marcus most about was he shoots too freaking much. He plays hero ball. Honestly, he should only take open threes that rotate around when he's got a clean look or any shot that comes to him within rhythm in the flow of the offense. Never late. I never want to see him forcing the action. I don't want to see him pulling up and jacking threes. I mean, the numbers show when he takes 13 field goals or more over the course of the last 2 years, whatever it is, their record is freaking terrible. He's much better in a secondary role. But that one criticism was about the guards of like, Marcus is a really good defender, but he's having a tough time keeping quick guards in front of him. Right. And that one really stuck with him for whatever reason. And he gets into that interview post game and he had a really good defensive game. I forget against whom. And he's talking to Cedric Maxwell and he's like, yeah, a lot of people saying I can't stay in front of guards anymore. And it was like, they're like, who said that? Who said that? And he's like, oh, I'm not going to say. And he's like, you know what? I am. F it. It's A. Sherrod Blakely and those guys over on the Garden Report saying I can't, whatever. So he did he mentioned Sherrod by name because I think he knows Sherrod and he doesn't know us as well. But I think he heard what we had said about the defensive thing and put it on Sherrod. And I think Sherrod had said something. Sherrod's criticism was totally different. Something about like being a leader, or he needs to, be more of that voice or whatever it is there. And that, he hasn't quite been the same. But yeah, that, he had a good little run after that. So I think we definitely,
it's definitely owed to you guys.
Yeah. We took some credit for that, for Marcus's,
honorary Tommy point to the Garden Report.
But that was so funny to me.
That was pretty funny.
Imagine if they call you out and they're like, those guys on the Morse code, you'd be like, whoa, like, how did he even come across this clip? I was really surprised by it.
That's pretty sweet.
Then like, oh, he's watching podcasts on YouTube, I guess, and that's, where our main home is. I know we have a decent viewer base, but I didn't think it would ever get to Marcus Smart's, mobile device.
No, good stuff. My last question on the Kemba thing, this is what I thought of too, and I think it became a little more prevalent after all the Ben Simmons stuff, but any thoughts on kind of how early that trade was done? It seemed, actually everything seemed very quick. Like the Brad Danny thing was like a week after they got eliminated, maybe even like the weekend after or something like that.
Day.
Was it that soon? I knew it was some crazy.
It was the next day.
That's right. And then
they said that night they told the players what was happening, and then the next day they start to tweet it out. We're hearing Danny's leaving. We're hearing it could be this, and then boom, press release done, press conference. It was within less than 24 hours after it was over. Yeah.
So were you surprised to see the Kemba trade done so soon? Do you think they rushed it all, or is that going to hurt him at all, you think?
It sounds like the two things that happen, and I'm curious what you guys think as well, but it sounds like Kemba was a little unhappy and did kind of say, I want to see if we can move on. So they were trying to facilitate it. And two, that league year thing, getting it done now and including a first round pick in this league year, allowing you to deal your first round pick next year if you do it after the league year starts, I believe is important, because if they are going to make a move, they need to have assets. And if they didn't have the ability to trade a first round pick, that would hurt them a little bit. So I think that creates max flexibility. Plus also now, what space you have to play with. So I think of all the moves everybody kicked around, and I don't know where you guys were, Soapy, you were in some of those, Garden Report shows where we were, I'd say we spent an insane amount of time talking about Kemba trade targets, even during the year. And we were talking about Porzingis, John Wall, like kind of big dollar for dollar sort of guys that you might bring over and could make it work. And Horford was always the one that made sense, but also was the one that saves you money. And I think that was clearly the impetus behind the trade. It was the dollars. More than anything, we need financial flexibility. Even if all you get out of this is Evan Fournier coming back and some flex to re-sign Rob Williams to an extension, that might be a win versus losing those guys both. So you can almost look at the trade. It's easy to look at the trade of Kemba for just Horford and Mo Brown and a first round pick, but you look at it, everything that trade allowed you to do. So if the trade now becomes Kemba Walker and a first round pick for Mo Brown, Al Horford, Evan Fournier, and Rob Williams, that's a different story.
That's a big win.
It's a different, you have to look at it at what it also allows you to do, or what money it creates and what other player you're able to sign with it. That's part of the deal. So whatever that happens, if they go and they sign, let's say you sign Spencer Dinwiddie with some of the money, I'm just throwing a name out.
Sure.
That is part of that trade essentially. So it does in that case, and then it makes you look better. So that was the key, having financial flexibility entering here into the off season. So you have an idea what you can do vis-a-vis your guys and or potential free agents, movement, player salaries. I know they're really worried about, the tax and, they're going to get up into it, but they're trying not to get, massacred there. So that's clearly why they did it and why they did it fast.
Yeah, I agree. I liked seeing it. I liked seeing Brad come out of the gate, if you want to consider that aggressive. I saw one way, I think it was John Corrales put it when people were talking about a draft pick, but he basically framed it he looked at it like you're basically taking Mo Brown's your pick. 6th round pick. Yeah. That's I'll take that. That you're probably not going to hit much better than that. It's a crapshoot, anything after 15. The only other angle I kind of bought into, I guess, I've heard on some local sports radio and stuff, kind of comparing it to what would have happened if Ainge was still calling the shots. And, I think it was Felger and Maz or someone was there's a good chance it'd be a 2-week-long negotiation and he'd want more. And then eventually, like most deals, it would just become another guy that Danny almost traded for,
right?
As opposed to Brad going and say, hey, this makes sense right now. Let's just fucking do it. Like, how do we make this work? So again, I'm okay with it. I mean, it's something, shake it up a little bit.
I don't know. Soapy, what did you think?
Yeah, you were there. You were at the boardroom.
No, but what do you think? Is you think it's different if Danny does? I know that's always been a knock on Danny. I think it's I don't think he's stingy. Everyone says about Danny, he's got to win the trade. I don't believe that. I believe Danny's not a do something for the sake of something person. I
agree. I also don't think that's a bad thing.
Why take risks when you don't have to take risks?
Yeah,
I agree. When you do have to take risks, then you do. Are you telling me trading the number 1 pick away and taking Tatum at 3 wasn't a massive risk? That was a huge risk. Imagine if that blows up. Imagine if the guy taking number 1 imagine if Fultz ends up being friggin' a top 10 NBA player right now, regardless of how good. And yes, Tatum was good, but let's say you did that and took Josh Jackson at 3.
Yeah. Great point.
Forget about it. That's career ending, and that's a risk. It was a, risk where he is stockpiled an asset, but that could have absolutely blown up in his face. So he took a risk saying, I like the guy who is the consensus 3, 4, or 5 player better than the guy who's the 1 or the 2. So I'm going to do this. That takes balls. That's risky. But what he wouldn't do is trade a whole bunch of stuff, on the off chance that what he's getting back is good. So I think he would have found a way to get rid of. I mean, I think he was trying to trade him last year and just couldn't get any nibbles.
Good point.
Yeah. The only thing I wonder with that first round pick is if and again, anyone watching the Garden Report knows, this was one of my big things at the beginning of the season. I said, sell all Kemba stock. I'll take any trade before the year. Sell it. I want out. I'll take 75 cents on the dollar. I think you got less than that here. Yeah. So Danny clearly saw that too and was trying. I wonder if last offseason he held out for too much and could have traded him for something of greater value at the time. Because now him getting hurt again late, I wonder, even him playing the way he played fairly well and the way he finished the season, even though he didn't play back-to-backs, if he didn't have a health hiccup, I wonder how much better that trade value would have been in the offseason. Could you have gotten away with that trade without a first and say, you're getting a good player and I'm taking Horford off your hands who you don't even want to play for you? Yeah. Is it possible? Yeah. I do agree on that 16 pick thing. I think people overdo it with draft picks. Draft picks to me aren't worth the player. They're worth the asset. They're worth more when you trade them than they are to actually you, because other people are like, I got a first round pick that could be anything and you could talk yourself into it. But if you go through draft lottery, draft pick guys who are picked 1 and 2 are like generational or franchise type players. 3 through 5 are like, a potential all-stars. 5 through 10, maybe starters. 10 through 15, you're starting to get into rotational players. Anything after that, it's a freaking coin flip. Even if they're like usable at that point. So, go through draft picks and find me guys picked at 16 who friggin' yes, you'll always find a few outliers, but the majority of guys picked in that range are Jags. You know,
we do that all the time. We can talk to we'll go through a random draft, and I think we've said I think I'll consider a good draft 10 serviceable players, 10 to 12 literally guys who are employed by the NBA after a few years. So yeah, totally. And so bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I don't know if you had any thoughts on this one.
No. I didn't, but that's where I am on that stuff. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the NBA draft was multiple rounds. It's a reason they cut it down to 2 rounds.
I forgot about when was that?
I can't remember the history of the draft, but I mean, once upon a time, it was you would go rounds and rounds and rounds. And they were
90s, early 2000s.
And then they were
I didn't think it was that recent. It was only
they're
2
like,
rounds.
wait a second, this is stupid. Only 20 guys make the league every year.
Blow.
What are we doing here?
Good point.
So whatever. But you're right. I mean, there's not a lot of jobs to be had.
Nah,
only 60, whatever. I think it's 60 picks, but I got a question for you, John. A couple follow-ups with this. This is a complete hypothetical.
I think it was a 10-round draft in the 80s. It was insane.
That's wild.
Yeah. I assume none of that was on TV.
10-round draft in the 80s. I don't remember what year it went away, but anyway, go ahead. Soapy.
I was just going to say, complete hypothetical. This, I don't think there's any chance this would happen. But if it was possible, would you entertain Ben Simmons if somehow he was attainable? And do you think the rims would be strong enough to handle the bricks that he shoots? And also, do you think that would be enough for a Jenner / Kardashian to finally attend a Celtics home game?
Right. Yeah.
We had that chance with Tristan and then we didn't get it.
Are we blaming the pandemic or just she just wasn't jiving with the Boston scene?
I think Boston is already a tough place. And then, you come in during a fucking global pandemic. It's like, maybe next year.
Yeah.
I don't think Tristan wants his girlfriends visiting him at work.
Well, yeah.
For certain reasons.
I'm all the way out on Ben. And I always have been. In my lifetime, I've never seen anything close to this. I've never seen anything like this in my life at all. Like a player.
What do you mean?
I've never seen anybody play a sport where the goal is to do one thing and he's terrified to
suck
do it.
At it.
Like I can't fathom it in any. I cannot fathom that this is a thing. Like this should be career ending. Like this is ridiculous that he refuses to work at it, to attempt it. And again, this is something we railed on at the end of a Garden Report, and I'm like, the job, Ben, is go out there and miss 8 outside shots a game. I do not care if you make them. You have to start taking them. And it's okay if you miss. We are not going to bench you. You must take them. They've literally told him this. You must shoot. And he's like, no. I mean, I don't get it either. It's a dereliction of responsibility, but beyond that, it's the primary objective of the game. Like we had Rondo here for years, and like it sucked when he was like a little reluctant to shoot, and the teams would play way off him, and you had massive spacing issues as a result.
Kobe would guard him from the paint while Rondo was at the 3-point line.
Exactly. You're in the paint on it, and they're daring him to shoot, and that messes with your head, but it screws up the whole thing. Like this next thing with he's afraid to take free throws means now he's afraid to go to the rim. So now he's completely useless. It has to be an uncontested shot or like a mid-range, and he won't even shoot mid-range. So he's useless. So at this point, he's a specialist to me. He's not a starter. He's not a guy who scores, who deserves a contract he deserves. So you're going to trade for that contract? Like, no way. At this point, he's like a Patrick Beverley, not quite, but he's a great defender, who can do a lot of different things for you, but he literally can't do the most important thing in the game, and he's afraid to do it. So there's not a world in which I think you take on that salary. And it's again, if Ben Simmons for nothing was laying on the you put him out on the corner and you said, who wants Ben Simmons? I'd go get him. But you're not trading for that salary because then that's your guy. Your big three is these guys with Simmons, and then you just got to live with that. And I can't, I can't see that.
I agree with John. We haven't talked about this yet. So what do you think? Or go ahead.
Well, what I don't get is what is the first point that John made, which is that it's the primary point of the game. So like, I don't get how you grow up playing basketball. Like the very first time that you play basketball, you're probably by yourself or like with your dad or something.
Doing
so if you're not dribbling, you're shooting.
3,
so did he
2,
just never
1,
shoot growing up?
Driveway, right?
I don't know.
So I don't understand that. And then the second part, that play where he passed up the dunk, you would have thought that Clint Capella was about to come over and like swat the shit out of him, and it was Trae Young. That scared him out of dunking.
Perennial threat, Trae Young at the rim.
Well, that means now at this point he's in his own head. Bad. The other stuff I think is a bit of stubbornness. Like, I'm gonna play my game and I'm not gonna shoot because this is what I play, and you guys gotta live with it. But that stuff is it's total paralysis at that point. He's so in his own head with the 34% free throws there. He wouldn't shoot in the fourth quarter. He was afraid to get fouled and go to the line. He didn't want that pressure. That's another down. So the knock on Simmons coming out was a concern. Does he care enough about basketball? Is he willing to work? Some of the stuff they're saying behind the scenes there is he's not doing the work. And I think NBA players fool people all the time. They put out some shitty Instagram video of them doing something one day for like 1 hour, and they're like, ooh, look, Ben Simmons has been working on his three. bullshit. And he shoots at a couple guys down at the Y, and everyone's like, watch out. And then nothing. There's no way he's putting in the work. There's no way he's spent an entire offseason doing it. There's no way he's ever tried to switch to right-handed, as many people think he's actually a true natural righty, which, again, if you look at the stats, this has been a Kevin O'Connor crusade for how long, but you look at his stats, every shot he takes during the course of the game is with his right hand. I mean, it's like 75-25, but when he goes to shoot jumpers, he shoots with his left. I mean, sometimes his feet for a lefty jumper line up like he's taking it with the right, like with his left foot, and his body angled as if he's going to shoot righty, but he shoots it with the left. I've never seen anything like it. So there's no way he's been deprogrammed and reprogrammed to be able to actually have a functional shot. There's no way he's spending time on it thinking this is the key to me being successful. Maybe this is the make or break offseason because it was all of his flaws were laid bare on national TV in such a demonstrative, embarrassing way. Maybe shame drives him into the gym this summer, but it hasn't happened yet. And it's shocking that it hasn't. Like, you could be one of the greatest players in the NBA. You're already a second tier all-star at worst. ESPN's top 100 had him listed at 16 heading in, he's an all-star, and that's without being able to shoot. You could literally be as good as anybody in the game if you get a functional jump shot, even from mid-range, and he won't do it. I don't understand it.
There's got to be something in the water, now that I think about it, that once you start dating someone from the Kardashians, your shot just looks fucked up.
Yeah.
Because we had to be exposed to Tristan Thompson, who I think has one of the ugliest forms in the league. Like, I can't tell if he's left or right-handed.
Yeah.
Anytime that he would take a free throw. So I think there's actually some correlation.
There might be something there. I don't know. If we never see Tristan again, it'll be too soon. That's another one of, I'm one of those where that's, it's something I've been anti-Tristan from the jump there. I never understood what it was they were hoping to get there out of him. And at this point,
don't let Bobby hear this.
Bobby knows. Bobby accepted defeat.
Well, I remember wasn't a big part of the Tristan signing, like his like finals experience and his leadership qualities. And he was like the most like COVID defying like guy on the team. Like, he didn't bring any of that to the table. Like, he was just Tristan Thompson. Yeah. He was keeping up with the Kardashians, Tristan Thompson. Like, it was a reality show.
I'm still
a terrible box score.
I'm dying to see again. I'm still waiting for the full blown autopsy. You heard little trickles, and again, this was KOC and his host talking about Tristan being irresponsible and blah, blah, blah. And then he shot that down. I think it was more plausible than not.
Sure.
Then we're hearing that Mannix went on NBC the other day, and he said the Celtics as a whole didn't take COVID seriously, and it pissed off a lot of the league. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting information, that maybe we could have used during the year. But also an issue. So it seemed like a total shit show there. I'm still waiting for, you had the Jared Weiss article, which was kind of, more from a Kemba perspective. I really want to hear some of the, what went down during the year, because it seemed like something was off with Marcus, seemed like something was off with Tristan. Seems like Jalen and Jason kind of went into their own little shells and did their own quiet thing, which they've done before. And they did it in 2019 when the world, fell apart. I want to know what went wrong there, or they stopped liking Brad. I really don't know.
That was big. That's what we're going to ask you about, before we wrap up in a little bit, but a lot out of that article, that could have been, there were like 5 or 6 different like things that alone would have been a news story, like the Jalen and Jason thing. Like you said, Brad, it seems like it was Brad favoring Marcus Smart over Kemba, or however you want to look at it. The biggest one to me though was the leak of someone on the Celtics telling Blake Griffin, like, don't come here in free agency.
Yeah.
That's not a good look. Like, that is not something you want to get leaked. Not that Blake Griffin would, put us in the finals, but I'm sure if someone told that to Blake Griffin, they're telling it to anyone else. All these guys,
which is fine. But again, I don't mean to like, if the source was from Kemba's camp, which it feels like, or it was Kemba himself, and Kemba's a disgruntled employee. He's thinking, I freaking hate it here. You'll hate it too. Like they treated me bad, they'll treat you bad. And that could be one disgruntled employee and not necessarily, emblematic of a larger issue within, dealing with the culture. But I don't know. And like I said, it felt like so much of this story came from one place that I do wonder whether it was one guy unloading all of his grievances at once, which could be, that's because it was a bit jumbled. It was, Brad was told he wasn't tough enough by Gordon, but then he was too tough on some people. He favored Marcus, but he was critical of Kemba. Blake didn't come here. The college offense that he was running sucked. All of these things. Plus, Kemba was upset over trade rumors. He didn't like being booed. Like so much of it sounded like Kemba saying, here's everything I didn't like about this place. Now that I've been traded, I'm going to list the whole thing. So there's a lot of that.
I feel like that would be a good thing if that's the case. If that was I feel down like to one person and he's gone, that seems like the best case scenario.
And it's not just one person and he's gone. It's one person after he was gone, and just kind of unloading both barrels, saying here, like, there's a lot I didn't like there, at this point you feel a little shitty. You came here and then they just dumped you. And how many people have left a job and they leave, and on the way out, people ask them about it and they're like, let me tell you the 12 reasons why I didn't like that place, and that's what this sounded like to me.
Yeah. I think my hope is, I'll put it this way real quick. I think that article kind of strengthens the idea of we needed a fresh start. Like, I think that makes the Brad and Danny thing look a lot better. Like we need something big here. And hopefully, Kemba's out. I think Horford is a good guy to get back just because he's Al Horford. He's a veteran guy, not a head case. His contract isn't great, better than Kemba's, but he was here, 2 or 3 years ago. People like him. I think for non-basketball, and it's not like he's a scrub, but for non-basketball related reasons, that's not a bad guy to get back in the locker.
Well, what were your guys' initial reaction to the trade?
I think you put it, John, like we knew it was inevitable.
Right.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
Well, were you hoping they were going to hit bigger on it?
No, I honestly didn't. For me, it was addition by subtraction. Like if we can get rid of Kemba and save some money, I genuinely don't give a shit who's coming in. That's why at first it's like Al Horford. And then not for nothing, I didn't really watch much Al Horford in Oklahoma this year. He had a decent year last year.
Numbers were fine.
Numbers wise. Yeah. I think he'll be, I'd like to see Rob start. I think a perfect backup, mentor, whatever is Al Horford. So I'm fine with it. Do you think he's going to stay? I hear those rumors too. Like they're just going to move him again if possible.
That's the thing is Horford, depending on what you're willing to give up in addition to it, Horford's contract now puts you in play for, you could theoretically, you'd be tight.
Yeah.
But you could theoretically trade for a third star if it was available using Al's money, but you'd have to dump almost every asset remaining, if anything they even have is considered an asset between Romeo, Neesmith, certainly Rob. But you could clear out the cupboards and throw in Horford's salary as the matching thing there to try to get somebody. I still don't think they have enough juice to get somebody real.
I think so too.
So I think Al probably plays it out this year, but it does creates an opportunity where he's movable because the money is movable. To match a large salary if that's what they needed to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's out there.
That's the thing that goes back to doing it so early. Like we're in game 2 of the conference finals.
Right.
Like there's still a long time between now and even free agency open.
Yeah. I want nothing in the way of Rob Williams. So same. I like Al's there. That's great. Show him a thing or two. He in his press conference on Thursday, he did say that like kind of mentorship. I'm going to, said some nice things and said he's going to be in his ear a lot. That's great. I love that. But on court, if this were a Brad coach team, Al would start, Rob would be off the bench, and I'd be losing my fucking mind, and so thank God. Okay. Thank God that's not the case. Because if Rob, I get the whole, he's his health and this and that. Look, if Rob breaks down again next year, you got to get worried. But if he comes in after a full off season, gets himself right, gets himself in shape, looks good, I'm so freaking bullish on Rob and again, this is one of my 2-year-long crusades. Play the fucking guy. Like, enough. Like, the good that he does outweighs the bad by miles. And like, my bold prediction, I'll give it to you guys instead of to our show, is going to be Rob's going to be an all-star this year.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say was, what I said on our show is, we're going to be talking about a big three, and the third person's going to be Rob. And you're going to be like, we don't need to do anything because we've got a dynamite big and these two wings. Then you'll start worrying about the right. I'm watching Atlanta play throughout the playoffs this year, and you see the guy and you see his numbers and and his trajectory. And Clint Capella is such a apt comp for Robert. And I think a lot of people say he could be like Capella. And I'm watching Capella and I'm thinking, if you watched Capella's best 10 minutes versus Rob's best 10 minutes, you're telling me you think Clint Capella's a better basketball player than Rob Williams, like in terms of all that Rob can do.
Right.
Rob at his absolute best, his ceiling is much higher than that, I think.
I agree. He's way more athletic.
But everything that he does, his playmaking ability, his hands, actually Capella's got really good hands too. But there's so much there. And I like Capella a lot. And I'm thinking, like, if Rob just keeps it together, I think sky's the limit there. So I like Al there in a mentorship role. I am worried if you can't move Tristan and now you got Mo Brown, you got too many. This was the problem.
Gotta move Tristan. Yeah,
too many bodies. You have to move Tristan.
Yeah.
But I mean, too many bodies there. And if Rob's still in that 18, 19, 20-minute range, I'm going to be pretty annoyed. But
I bet the Lakers would take Tristan. LeBron would take him. He's a clutch guy, isn't he?
That's Bobby's hope, that LeBron makes that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And LeBron just kind
James.
of weaves his wand and makes
LeBron Kalinka. Yep, he'll make it happen. Soapy, did you have a thought before we let John go?
Yeah, we'll get you out of here on this last one, John. So on a less serious note.
Oh boy.
I think we asked this question of Jimmy and Bobby, the Celtics bloopers over the course of the season. I got a few candidates and I want to see what you think is your favorite. So the Marcus jump ball one.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Where he?
Yeah, of course.
Christ, I already forgot about that.
For anyone who forgot, it was a half second.
I know I have one. I hope you remember it because I can't remember it.
Okay.
But go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
There's one in my head and I can't conjure it. So
there's several.
Keep going.
For anyone who forgot the Marcus one, by the way, it was just a jump ball with half a second to go on the shot clock. The other team had the possession. All we had to do was do nothing. Right. And Marcus caught it and threw it like 10 rows past behind the hoop. There's that one. There's Mo Wagner saving the ball in his one of his 4 games with the Celtics. Saved the ball under the opponent's hoop on a fast break, led directly to a layup.
Yeah.
And then I was just gonna say pick a la carte Grant Williams anything.
There was a Grant one that I'm trying to remember, but I'm gonna give it to Grant for just kind of like lifetime achievement award.
Sure. Stat compiler.
The Vanguard Award.
Yeah. It was that one game against the Wizards, I think, where he literally had like 3 in a row. It was
but like break. A lot of times, if I go through my Twitter feed, I will find like 20 things I said about an individual move that Grant made.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
So wait, I think I may remember. Do you remember if it was a Grant one that you had in mind?
Yeah, I maybe.
When in doubt.
When in doubt, I'm not entirely sure, but
there's the inbounds pass off his ass.
Yeah, that was a bad.
That might have been the Wizards.
The other one I was thinking of was it was in Dallas, and this is the one that we brought up with Jimmy, I think, where for some stupid reason Grant got the ball on a fast break. It was like a 2-on-1, and he did a Euro step where obviously you're supposed to move laterally, and his Euro step he just kept going straight forward and bulldozed
into the defender. Yeah, any sort of fast break where the Celtics have the advantage, but one of those players is Grant Williams, it might as well be a 2-on-1 like the other way. Like he's like a fast break.
Yeah, this is now a 1-on-2.
Yeah.
It's God, it's Poor guy. Talking about our show. It's remarkable. We do our live show, so we're seeing comments stream through, and Soapy, you've been in there a bunch. Like the amount of people, it doesn't matter what happened. Grant Williams could have played 3 minutes in a 12-point win, and within seconds, trade Grant, get Grant's ass out of here. I'm like, he didn't even do anything. The guy doesn't matter. He's the victim of like drive-by, just fan frigging bashing. He without even doing a thing. He's like, what? I didn't even play tonight. What are you mad at me for? Yeah. Right.
He catches a lot of shrapnel, and he's not even on like the battleground half the time.
It's incredible. It's the amount of, it's like they'll lose a game and Tatum will go 2 for 27 and it'll be like, fucking Grant,
yeah. And he's a first round pick too. It's not like he's Mr. Irrelevant scrub they picked up. It doesn't make it better. I agree. That doesn't help his case. But
he's a first round pick. I made those guys a year ago do a Brandon Clark versus Grant Williams segment. They're like, why are we doing this? I was like, because I'm still freaking mad, because I was like, what are we picking this guy for? I hate low ceiling players. And to me, the draft is the entire draft is a lottery ticket. You're seeing if you can cash one in. Okay. Yep. You want to hit, especially late. I hate guys who like fill roles. Like, you can find a Grant Williams type anywhere on the veteran market, buyout market. Guys like that are so readily available.
There's 3 of them talking right now on this podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Using first round capital on a player with a ceiling as low as Grant Williams, like undersized power forward who kind of can't really shoot, medium athleticism. Like, oh God, it's one thing if you're like 6'4" and jump through the, building or a great outside shot or whatever. He literally does nothing well. Like, nothing at a plus level in the NBA. I won't even give him the jack of all trades, master of none. He's a jack of no trades. He doesn't do anything well. So that pick pissed me off from the get-go. You got to, that being said, Peyton Pritchard is a similar pick in the sense of, I don't think he has a high ceiling, but he's a serviceable player and people are generally happy with him. But the Grant one killed me at that point, given what the team needed. I just didn't understand. That whole draft, I think, was an absolute. That draft might have been the end of Danny.
Didn't help. Yeah.
I feel like Grant Williams to the NBA is how a lot of people think of drafting a running back to the NFL.
Yeah.
In your definition, which I agree with, meaning, there's 100 other people who can do what he does.
Yeah. You can get them. Or every time the Pats draft a lineman, they're like, aren't they all the same? Aren't they just these fat guys that you can find? Like, hadn't you draft Joe Tooney in the 4th round? What are you spending a first round pick on? I never understand that either. When you take a guard, but the Grant one, Grant caught a lot of slack. If he's, I assume he's back, unless he kind of gets, unless he's just kind of packaged together in a, larger trade, just extra spare parts, to move around. But I'm not looking forward to another season of I actually am. It provided some levity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a silver lining on a disappointing season. When in doubt, we are going to see Grant Williams do something funny.
He was somebody that fans could beat on, and it made them feel a little better about themselves. Grant was Grant definitely, like, beating up on Grant. It was mean to Grant, but I definitely think it helped fans get through this season a little bit.
Yeah, he'd throw a 3 in here and there. He'd have a nice, I don't know, nice screen.
I actually viewed that as almost the entire purpose of our show throughout the course of this year was therapy for angry, ailing, grieving, isolated Celtics fans who were like, I'm mad. Is everyone else this mad? Yeah, we are this mad. Let's kind of have it out a little bit, because there was a lot to be frustrated about this year. So, I'm hoping for better, but I honestly don't even know what we'll do. We'll see, man. Can we handle prosperity?
We'll see. It's that's what I was saying last year. Like when we were looking at like moves at the deadline, it was like, there's not a player you can bring in that's going to make you better than Milwaukee, better than Brooklyn, maybe compete with Philly. I just thought, I was like, you know what? I'd rather not trade picks and smart and whatever. Like, we're going to lose in the first or second round.
Yeah, that's always been my take too. It's like I've lived through some bad seasons here as a Celtics fan over the course of several years. I'm older, so I mean I've seen, a lot of ups and downs, and some of the more fun seasons are the ones where you're like, F it. Play the younger guys and see what you got here. Because the promise of something better is better than just kind of like trying to hang in there. And like the worst team you can be is a team that's an also-ran that is never really a contender without ever really any promise or hope of something better down the road. To me, one of my biggest criticisms of Brad all year was not recognizing that this team wasn't going to be a contender, and then playing Neesmith, getting Rob minutes early, all of that stuff I think should have happened earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I'm this year, like I said, is I'm hoping it's a big developmental year.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Well, we end on a slightly positive note. I guess.
I like to see it. Like, look, what's the chance of this team being good for real? Is it going to be a blockbuster trade? Is it going to be somebody they draft? No, they don't have a draft pick. What's it going to be? The only chance this team is going to be contender level next year. Tatum and Brown take another leap. Neesmith and Pritchard and Romeo all take leaps and show that they're legitimate rotation level contributing players that can help you in a lot of different ways. Rob Williams takes a monster leap forward, and it's all going to be internal stuff. You move pieces in and out different places, but I don't think you're swinging a for the fences sort of home run trade that's going to instantly make you better. Like, I think we've had too many quick fixes before with the big three trade back in 2008 for Garnett and all of that stuff. And then, resetting so quickly on the fly here with the trade that got you Tatum and Brown and all of that stuff, trading the big three off to the Nets. We're so used to that automatic quick reset that like people are like, do something. And the answer is something might not be able to get done. So if you're going to get better, it's going to be with what you have here. So I want to see it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you just got to accept mediocrity. And that might be, where they're at. But, you've freed up some money. You might have some space to do something in a year or two. This feels like a bridge year to me. So I would say, let these guys get out there, see what they have, develop them as assets. They're either going to make you better or they're going to get better and allow you to trade them. That's a win-win. That's what you have to do.
Yep.
So I do want to say, before you wrap it, just tell all of your audience, if you don't watch it, Garden Report.
Of course. Yeah. Where can everyone find you?
Our podcast, CLNS Media, easiest way to find it. If you watch it, great. We're normally a post-game show that we do after every game. And then sometimes we'll go over into Spotify Green Room and do a chat. We were doing that a lot late in the year. But we're doing at least once or twice a week now live shows. And if there's news like there was with the hire of the coach recently or with the Kemba trade, we'll jump up right away and try to get live. Easiest way to find us, subscribe to our YouTube channel at CLNS Media, or follow our Celtics CLNS Media Twitter handle. And we'll notify you when we're about to go live, and then you'll know it. And easiest thing is the YouTube by far. And just, you'll get notified when we're about to, but we will announce it on Twitter and saying, hey, we're coming up later tonight at 5. Come join us. It's a fun hangout because it is an interactive show. I know Soapy's in there a lot. The chat is usually pretty lit. We do green room sometimes after, and people get to jump in and have their say. But, we're following the comments. We like the viewers to be part of the show a little bit. It's a fun, interactive, live element of it. We've been doing it since the bubble. Late in the season through the playoffs, 2 years ago and all last season. We did it from preseason all the way through. So it's really been a fun thing and really been a fun community that we've kind of started there. So if you're a part of it already, awesome. We love having you. If not, give us a listen and go over there and check it out.
Real quick,
you guys
John.
are the best. We'll put it all in the show notes too.
Thanks,
real quick, John. Have you guys heard like what level of access you're going to get next year, media wise, at the Garden?
We don't know beyond what we had this year, which was Zoom recordings and a reporter or two at the games.
Gotcha.
I have to think we're close to full, but I also would not be stunned if all media continues to be Zoom or pool. I think the smartest thing for them to do would be to allow reporters in there, but limit cameras to reduce clutter. So I would let people who are there to ask questions, I would bring everybody to the press room and let them sit in their seats and do a pool feed the same exact way, streaming that out there like on a Zoom sort of situation. I would do it the same way, but let people ask the questions there, pass the mic around and let them ask it. Because then they're there and you have a little bit of a human element. I can't see a world in which we go back to tight locker room. I never understood that period. I've worked in the business for 20 something years, locker room to locker room, jumping around. I'm always like, do the players want us here, man? This seems ridiculous. Like these scrums, they're trying to get dressed and like, it's embarrassing. Like they're there and you're watching a guy friggin' in his
John,
underwear.
Can you hand me my underwear?
Yeah. They're literally in their underwear, pulling up their shirt. And then they turn around and everybody just steps forward, and it's just like, you got guys this close. Like, it's like, I've never gotten that at all. I always thought they should just walk guys to a designated area and have them speak there. So it's a weird scenario, but I think access will be up in terms of the amount of personnel we'll be allowed to be sending there. And, but I do think the interview access, and a lot of reporters are having a tough time with that because it's way harder to make human connections with people when you're not there, have those side chats, the off the record stuff, just kind of get to know you. That's where people build their relationships. They go there and they just BS about something that's off the record. And it's just, hey, here's who I am. I wanted to chat with you about this thing. I'm thinking of doing a story somewhere down the line. It's really hard to do that. So I think that access hurt a lot of reporters this year because they couldn't get any rapport going with them. So we'll see. But I think we'll be closer to normal.
Hey, anything to keep Bobby away from Luke Cornett.
I know. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on to 5 or 6 bigs this year. So I'm afraid Mr. Cornett is
on the chopping block.
Is going to be playing elsewhere next year. Yeah, Bobby's
all right.
Boy. Yeah,
well, John, thanks for swinging by, brother. Nice meeting you, and love to have you back sometime soon.
Guys, I loved it, and like I said, come join us, hang out
definitely
into our shows as well, because we always like having you guys in there, and
for sure.
Certainly in the next green room, just let me know, and we'll get you guys up on the stage and get your thoughts on things. But yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, John.